The 24-Hour MBA provides higher knowledge in less time. Take your life and business to a higher level. These sessions cannot be legally duplicated without permission. Make sure that you fuel the growth of your life and business on the right foundation, for seeds grow into their own kind. This is practical, down-to-earth business knowledge, but the origin and pricing of these sessions are divinely inspired. The price is $70 for each person who hears 2 or more sessions. You will be blessed whether you listen to one session or the complete 24-session series. If the $70 has not been paid for you personally to listen to these files, please go now and pay for them at the24hourmba.com. Knowledge that is honestly obtained imparts a greater blessing. And now, prepare to go higher with the 24-Hour MBA.
You will notice that each session of the 24-Hour MBA opens and closes with prayer. The sessions are not religious and are purely business-oriented, but the organizers of the 24-Hour MBA are spiritual men who believe that after you have done all that you can do, there is a higher power that helps to facilitate a greater outcome. In business and in life, you need all of the help and blessing that you can get. This is the first session of the 24 sessions of the 24-Hour MBA. This session covers, is entrepreneurship for you? 5 questions every entrepreneur should answer. Learning to master the mission statement, vision casting, and goals by Nathaniel Bronner.
I appreciate all of you coming out and sacrificing your time, your energy, even your money to come and share, hopefully, what will be a business and life-transforming experience for you. This is our first time doing this, but we've been in business for a very, very long time. And we want to impart some of the things that we have learned, some of the things that our father, that best business practices, that life itself in business has taught us. And over these next 24 sessions, we hope to transform your business thinking and, as a result, your business results. We're going to be dealing with some hard, cold realities of business that will help you move to another level in your life and another level in your business. But before we begin, if we could just bow our heads for just a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we first of all thank you for the vision that you imparted. We thank you for even the urging that you put in each person's heart and spirit to be here and to participate. I pray right now that you take control of my mind, my heart, my spirit, and yea, every word that I shall utter. And let it be of you and from you to prosper them in the way that they should go. Father, I pray that you open up the hearts and the minds of the people that they may receive and plant it in good soil and make it bear fruit. In thy Son, Jesus' name, we pray. Amen. This is the first session of the 24-Hour MBA. And we're going to be fundamentally dealing with 2 topics. This is probably one of the sessions that will be less technical and more psychologically fundamental. Many of the other sessions will be purely technical, just hardcore business stuff. But this session deals with the 2 questions, is entrepreneurship for you? 5 questions every entrepreneur should answer. And then to learn to master the mission statement, vision casting, and goals. I first want to just tell you a little bit about myself in just 2 or 3 minutes so you'll understand, at least for those of you who may not be familiar, who I am, some of our background. My name is Nathaniel Bronner Jr. I've been in business for a very, very long time. My first business was actually a paper route. Some people are born great, others achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. Well, my daddy made me get a paper route. He said, boy, you're going to get up early in the morning, you're going to get out and work, and you're going to go around this circle, and you're going to throw papers. I began at a very young age with my first business, which was a paper route. My father made me go around the circle, and I had about 20 customers. But there was something in me that was not satisfied with 20 customers once I got over the disdain of getting up in the morning and getting out in the cold on the paper route. And I eventually built a initial round-the-block paper route in my young, early teenage years. So I had a paper route that had 400 customers. Now, I collected $1.75 every month from 400 customers. It took me approximately 2 hours to throw my paper. So by the time I got to school, I had already been to work. And children used to laugh at me because I was a paper boy. But I collected $1.75 from 400 people every month. I spent 2 hours. Minimum wage at that time was $1.65 an hour. I made more as an early teenager at 2 hours in the morning than most adults made working 8 hours. So I learned from a very early age some of the practical realities of business. I had to do what other people laughed at, but I went to the bank. And it was a principle that stayed with me throughout my life. I went to college with a degree in chemistry from Eckerd College. But while I was there, I serviced beauty salons in St. Petersburg, in Tampa, in Clearwater, in Sarasota, in Bradenton, in Palmetto. I expanded my route. My daddy never gave me an allowance, never in my life. He always made me work for whatever I had to earn or achieve. And that principle stayed with me. So I developed a route even while I was in college, graduated with a degree in chemistry. When I came out with my degree in chemistry, Bronner Brothers, our family business, was already in existence, but we manufactured no product. What we did, we private labeled from a small company down in Alabama. We got the products from them. At the time, Bronner Brothers was selling about $200,000 a year in our product. I came in with my chemistry knowledge, and while I was in college, I did all of my junior and senior theses on cosmetic chemistry. When I came out, I was educated, I was prepared, I opened up manufacturing, developed new methods of marketing. By the time I turned over fundamentally the leadership of those directions to my younger brother Bernard, I had taken the company from a $200,000 a year product line to a $9 million a year product line. I learned and did the same things that I started with a paper route, even within Bronner Brothers. In 1988, I started my own company, Century Systems. Century Systems now, it's a multi-million-dollar company. It's nowhere near as large as Bronner Brothers, but it's almost just as profitable. 80% of my income comes from my own company, not the family business. I speak to you from a point of practical experience and practical doing things. I was on the board of directors of First Southern Bank for 10 years. It taught me a lot of the inside financial workings of business. I got to see things. I got to understand things from a bank board perspective that most people never see and never understand in terms of actually how financing works. And that's some of the business background, but I'm also pastor of a church. And that's sort of the spiritual background. And if I was not pastor of a church, to be honest with you, I wouldn't be before you now, because I had an inner spiritual inkling and a divine command to teach and to produce the 24-hour MBA. And were I not in the pastoral role, I wouldn't be doing this, because this is not about personal money for me. This is mission. This is about teaching you how to eat and move higher on the food chain. This is something, just a little bit of the background of who I am. And the first part is entrepreneurship for you. 5 questions every entrepreneur should answer. First of all, as a pastor, we're often called upon to do counseling, and one of the counseling is marriage counseling. You already know that marriage in the United States and virtually all over the industrialized world has a fairly low success rate. Divorce rates are high. You know that. Marriage is a tough thing. And normally when pastors counsel couples who are coming for marriage counseling, the real purpose of the counseling session is actually to break the couple up. It's to find out, are they really serious? Do they have major weaknesses? Have they considered some things, some of the major things that lead to divorce? The real purpose of the counseling is to break up weak unions so they don't make the mistake of getting married in the first place and ending up in divorce a few years later. The purpose, because now almost half of all marriages will end in divorce, the purpose is to break them up if it's weak. Well, half of marriages fundamentally will end in divorce, but when you check business statistics, now it's anecdotal that 80% of businesses don't survive the first 5 years, but that's not really true when you check facts. My chemistry degree, that strong left brain side, it causes me to deal more with facts than rumors and anecdotes. When you really go and check the facts, the fact is, in 15 years, only 26% of businesses will survive. It's worse than marriage. If a pastor's job is to break up couples who have weak marriage unions going into the thing, What do you think the job should be with entrepreneurship? And 26% of businesses will survive after 15 years. Those are not real good statistics. That's roughly 1 out of 4 of those of you who are considering going in business or already in business. Only 1 out of 4 will survive 15 years. The question, is entrepreneurship for you? It's a real question. The latest figures right now from the Small Business Administration in the U.S., 562,000 businesses were started in the most recent year that it was measured. 562,000 started, 661,000 closed. More businesses went under than went in. And if you go and check statistics on the SBA, they've got stats that go back for years. And what you will find is roughly the same number that come in or the same number that go out. Business is a very vibrant, risky thing. And I don't want to fool you with that. Let me put it in a simple term. Business is not for wimps. Business is not for wimps. It's not something that you're going to do on a whim. You need to be dead serious about this thing. You need to be like one of my favorite lines of all times in the movies was Rocky. And he was going up against this big Russian. And his wife called down from the top of the stairs and said, baby, don't go in that ring with that man. If you go in that, because he had killed Apollo Creed. He said, don't go in that ring with that man. If you go in the ring, he may kill you. And Rocky looked up at his wife and he said, look, in order to kill me, he has to get in the ring with me. And to get in the ring with me, he has to be willing to die himself. This is the kind of tenacity that you need going into business, because business kills most people. Business is not for wimps. You have to have your mind and your spirit and your heart made up before you go into business. In the United States, there are approximately 28 million businesses in the U.S. Out of those 28 million, 78% have no employees. We said, what do you mean no employees? 78% of the 28 million businesses have no employees. What that means is, it means that they are one-person operations. One man or one woman and no employees. Almost 4 out of 5 businesses in the United States consist of one person. And for those of you who are in the audience today and your business is just one person, I want you to just shout out, it's just me. It's just me. That's a lot of people. So you see the stat is real. A lot of the subjects that may look like it applies to businesses that have dozens and dozens of employees, and it will, but we're going to make sure that we stay focused on those who say it's just me. Because roughly 4 out of 5 of every business in the country is a one-person business. All of these things that we're going to teach, it will apply to the one-person business or whether you have a 50-person business, because with so many, it's just me. Out of those 28 million businesses, only 4% of those businesses will have revenues exceeding or equaling $1 million. That means 96% of the businesses do less than $1 million a year. Our banker actually told me that 98% of their customers are smaller than $1 million a year. But the national statistics say that 96% of all businesses do less than $1 million a year. And of the 4% that do $1 million or over, only about 1 out of 10 of those ever make it to $10 million. What this tells you is that for the most part, the statistical probability is that the vast majority of businesses will do less than $1 million a year. And only a small sliver will ever hit the $10 million mark. Now, I'm really, with my business, I'm kind of at the middle level, right around the $5 million, not the $50 million, not $500 million, and not billions. And the thing is, I don't want to be. For those of you, and you have aspirations to create a Microsoft, I'm not the man. my anointing is not strong enough, and my desire is not even there. There is one part about is entrepreneurship for you to even get where you want to go clearly. I never will forget, I was at a seminar, it was 1,000 people there. And a man was speaking called Peter J. Daniels. Peter J. Daniels is a billionaire out of Australia. He randomly chose 5 people from the audience. He had them come up on stage, just pulled them out of the audience. They were everyday, average working people. This was not a crowd of business people. This was everyday folk. He pulled 5 people and had them stand on the stage, and he asked each one of them one question. He said, for the rest of your life, for all of the days that you figure you have left to live, what is the total amount of money that you want to earn for the rest of your days? He asked 5 people that question. The first man said, $5 trillion. The second man said, $3 trillion. And it went all the way down to one lady, and her figure was 900 million. It went from 5 trillion to 900 million. Now, the reason that I bring up this example, he didn't even know what $5 trillion was. Do you know how much $5 trillion $5 trillion is more than the GNP annually of Germany, of Italy, of France. So this man would say, look, I want to earn more in the rest of my life than all of the folk in Germany, than all of the people in France, than all of the people in Italy. It is 1/3 of the GNP of the United States. $5 trillion. The richest man in the world has roughly $45 to $50 billion, and it takes 1,000 billion to make a trillion. What he said was, I want $5,000 billion, and the richest man has 50. Sometimes people, our concept, and I was sitting there listening to the 5 people, and I said, more than likely, by a statistical probability, I have more money than all 5 of those folk put together. And my desire is not even 10% of the smallest. We have to, first of all, have what I call realistic expectations. You are not going to earn $5 trillion in the rest of your life. So I want to bust some bubbles for those who think that. And to bring just realistic expectations. And we'll deal with that even when we get to the goal level. But people, I saw reality. And I saw people who just had virtually, absolutely ridiculous concepts. And then he asked them another question after he had all of their goals. He said, I want each one of you to go down and tell me in terms of percent, where are you in accomplishing that goal? And do you know what every one of them percent was? 0. Every one of them, their percent was 0. We have to, first of all, even just understand some of the statistics and realities and expectations of entrepreneurship. Now, the 5 questions every entrepreneur should answer. And you need to say yes to at least 4 out of 5 of these questions. Question number 1. And these are not the standard questions. I didn't get these from any internet site or anyone else. This is something that was more or less breathed into my spirit and from experience. Question number 1. Has anyone ever recognized your gift, including spiritual signs? Has anyone ever recognized your gift? Oftentimes, if there's something that you're truly gifted at, other people see it. They know it. I never will forget, there was one of the reality talent shows. It may have been American Idol, I can't remember. But they had this fella on who was a singer, and he was horrible. But he said, I can sing. And they said, would you mind just going out to the mall and singing and asking people, can you sing? Of course, it was reality television. They followed him around with the camera, and he would sing and ask, and they would interview the people in the mall, can this fella sing? They said, no, he sounds horrible. But he believed that he could. The first question, has anyone told you about whatever you're doing? Has anyone told you about your gift? And normally when you truly have an exceptional gift, you will hear it from multiple people. I remember when I was younger, people would tell me, you sound like a preacher. Now, I was a chemist. Preaching was the very last thing on my mind, on my agenda. I had no desire or aspirations whatsoever to be a preacher. But people would tell me when they heard me speak, "You sound like a preacher." My father would bring in often motivational speakers to our meetings. And I remember one year, Judge Ziegler, who was Zig Ziglar's brother, came to our meeting. And Judge Ziegler heard me speak as a young boy in the early 20s, well, young man in the early 20s. Ziegler said, "You have a gift. I want you to come on the speaking circuit with myself and my brother Zig." He invited me. I was about 22 years old. He invited me to go on a national speaking circuit with Zig Ziglar, who is one of the most famous speaking motivators who ever lived. He saw something there that he recognized and told me about. First question, has anyone told you about your gift? There is a gift of entrepreneurship and the talent of whatever you're doing. If you're an interior decorator, has anyone told you how great, how fantastic your ability is? If you're a cook, has anyone told you whatever you're doing? If you're a designer, has anyone told you you should have multiple confirmations in the natural and potentially even in the spiritual that this is the direction? If it's only you who can see it, it doesn't mean that it isn't real. But if it is only you who can see it, the probability of success diminishes, because if other people cannot see your gift or talent, oftentimes that is a strong indication that something isn't quite right. Has anyone else recognized your gift? Question number 2. Is this something that you would do if no one paid you? Is it something that you would do if no one paid you? Because people, I've got a news flash for you. Oftentimes in business, you won't get paid for it. Is this something that you would do if no one paid you? And what this does, this distills out passion. Because oftentimes people will just go into something because it looks like it's money in it. Well, if the money dries up, then you're stuck. Or once they go into it, they still may make money, but they get no joy and fulfillment, and the steam runs out. A good question to ask yourself, is this something that you would do if you didn't get paid for it? And if you wouldn't do it, if you wouldn't get paid for it, it's a sign that often you will experience burnout, discouragement, and abandonment simply because the passion is not there. There is a power in business, because sometimes people, you have to work some long hours when you're in your own business. Your own business is not a 9 to 5. And to fuel that type of time requires a passion. And if you don't have the passion, you'll oftentimes run out of steam. And there's another principle that often your profit is where your passion is. Those who really go to the top, they don't do it just for the money. They just love it. And they get paid for it. They just love it. And they get paid for it. Would you do it if you did not get paid for it? Because what you have to realize is that in the first year of most businesses, when people leave a job, they'll make approximately 20% of their most recent salary. If you don't love it, if you don't have passion, it won't work. A lot of the things that I do and I don't get paid for it. I don't get paid as a pastor. I started the inspirational email Mountain Wings at mountainwings.com on January 1st, 2000. It became the largest inspirational email on the face of the planet with over 1 million subscribers. I had a vision that I said, if I can get a person to read 1 minute a day, in 3 years, I can change the way they think. I get emails almost every day now, people saying, I've been reading Mountain Wings for years. I'm a new person. I don't get paid for that. I started it out of the passion to change lives, not for money. That question is always a critical question. Would you do it if you didn't get paid for it? I remember when I was going off to college, one of the things I told my father was that I wanted to be a doctor. The problem was I really didn't want to be a doctor. I just wanted to get away from home. But doctors have the second highest suicide rate of any profession. And you say, well, why? Because too many of them go into it not because they love medicine, not because they want to help or heal people, but because it pays good. And they get in it, and there's all this work, and there's another whole process psychologically called the plateau effect that they reach, and they end up not satisfied because they wouldn't do it if the money wasn't in it. And as a result, they get distressed and discouraged, and too many end up taking their lives simply because they could not answer yes to that question. Question number 3, can you make the hard decisions? You're going to have some hard decisions to make in business. Some very hard decisions. The word decision or decide, it's a Latin word, comes from decidere, means to cut off. When you're in business, you have to make some real hard decisions. You're going to have to cut off some people. Firing people is one of the toughest things to do in business, but you're going to have to do it. If you can't make tough decisions, business is not for you. One of the most logical ways to tell whether you can make tough decisions, there's one good indicator. That indicator is your personal credit. Your personal credit tells you real good whether you can make tough decisions. Can you really decide, look, I don't need to buy this. I need to say your personal credit is a very good indicator of your ability to cut some stuff off and to make some really tough decisions. It represents discipline, which still is the root of decide and to cut off and to eliminate some things. Are you a person who can really make tough decisions? And if you are not, you're better off working for someone. Let them make the tough decisions and you don't deal with it. Question number 4. Can your family handle the strain? For those of you who are married, entrepreneurship can put a huge strain on your marriage. There is an article that's written and it's entitled, Why So Many Entrepreneurs Get Divorced. And it says that many spouses can't compete with the intense passion many entrepreneurs have for their businesses. And business ownership can intensify traits not known for nurturing relationships, such as bossiness, self-importance, and impatience. And not to mention the number 1 cause of divorce, money. Because oftentimes when you go into business, the money gets funny, the money gets short, and it puts a strain on relationship. The entrepreneur personality is often one of me and what I can create, which is different than the us of marriage and the co-creation of a partnership. The entrepreneur oftentimes will put most of their energy in the new baby, which is the business. Can your relationship stand the strain of entrepreneurship? A good question. The 5th and final question, do you stick with things and don't give up easily? You have got to have some grit to make it through entrepreneurship. When I started my business, first of all, my expectation was like many of you. We were not expecting to make money in a few years. We were going to make money the first week. My expectation when I started my business, and I started it with an electronic product. When I came out with that product, I sold $7,000 of the product the first month. In the first year, I had sold about $80,000 worth. The problem was it cost me $150,000 to sell those 80. I lost money in my first year. It took me 7 years before I ever got my first check from my company. Do you have what it takes to stick it out in business? I mean, after 2 or 3 months, I'm tired of this. I'm through with this. Do you have what it takes? And if you're the type who gives up, who can't handle the pressure, who can't handle the strain, you need to be like a bulldog with lockjaw if you're going in business. Because that stuff is not easy. Like I said, it's not for wimps. Do you have the ability to stick it out? Those 5 questions. Has anyone else recognized your gift? Is this something that you would do if no one paid you to do it? Can you make the hard decisions? Can your family handle the strain? And do you stick with things and don't give up easily? Those 5 questions, and you need at least 4 of the 5 with a resounding, solid yes before you travel down the entrepreneurial pathway. And the next part that I want to cover is basically learning to master the mission statement, the vision casting, and goals. Number one of all of this stuff, number one is simply to write it down. To write it down. A lot of people come to me, they've come to me over the years. You'll be surprised the people I'll ask, well, do you have the stuff written down? Do you know that well over 90% the answer is just no? They have nothing written down at all. There is a vast difference. There was a study done in USA Today, and it talked about the people who made New Year's resolutions. And it said that of the people who made New Year's resolutions and did not write them down, only 4% of those people kept their resolutions. But those who detailed them and wrote them down, 46% of them kept their resolutions. Over 10 times as many people were successful when they wrote it down in detail. The first thing with all of this is write your stuff down. Detail it down. There is a power in penmanship. There is a power in graphically putting it down on paper or on your computer or wherever you need to put it in. There is a power in doing that. My father, he was a wise man. And one of the principles that he would tell me, because he was a prominent businessman, when people saw him, they would always, Mr. Bronner, I got this guy. My father would always tell me one thing. He says, son, if you ever want to get rid of folk, tell them to write it down. And my father would say, just write it down and submit that to me on paper. He said, that will eliminate 90% of people. Just tell them to write it down. The first thing that you must do with your vision, your mission statement, your goal, all of this stuff, write it down. I hear so many people talking about, oh man, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I said, do you have it written down? Can you show me the plan? No. No. I haven't written it down. It's in my head. When it's in your head, you won't get ahead. You have to put this stuff down. There's something about it. There's a principle that when it is on paper, it takes it out of the ether waves and it manifests it into the first phase of physical reality. Write the stuff down. When you learn this principle, it increases your probability of success just tenfold. Write it down. The overall vision casting, when you do visions for your business, the vision is what's called a qualitative generic statement. Most major corporations, they have what they call a corporate vision. I'm just going to read some ABCs of corporate. Alcoa, which is Alcoa Aluminum, you know them from aluminum foil and a lot of the stuff they do. This is their vision. At Alcoa, our vision is to be the best company in the world in the eyes of our customers, shareholders, communities, and people. We expect and demand the best we have to offer by always keeping Alcoa's values top of mind. That's their vision statement. That's what's called a nebulous general qualitative statement. And basically, when you look at all of the major companies' vision statements, they basically, in a nutshell, say, we are going to be the best. If you look at Anheuser-Busch, be the world's best beer company. Through all of our products, services, and relationships, we will add to life's enjoyment. A lot of them is just the best. If you go to Boeing in 1950 said, become the dominant player in the commercial aircraft and bring the world into the jet age. That was in the 1950s when people weren't flying a whole lot. Now their vision statement is people working together as one global enterprise for aerospace leadership. Caterpillar, which makes all of the earth moving in bulldozers and that type of equipment, be the global leader in customer value. The A, B's, and C's, those are just three companies, but they're typical vision statements. In vision casting, generally, the vision is a feel-good, generic thing that, I'm going to be the best. I do lawn care. I'm going to be the best lawn care guy in the city. That's a vision, but it doesn't tell you how you're going to do it. It doesn't give you any specifics. It's that good feeling thing that's big out there in the clouds. I don't deal too much with visions. My vision statement is simply this: I'm going to change the world. And everything I do, it comes under that umbrella that I am going to change the world. Your vision statement is just the general overall statement of kind of what you're going to do. But then you begin with your goals. This is the stuff you really write down. This is the motor. This is the engineering. This is the fuel. This is the drive that gets you where you want to go. Without a goal, this is basic stuff. When you're talking about vision, goals, and mission statement, none of this is unusual. But you'll be surprised most people don't have it. It's foundational, and you have to have it. You have to have your goals. I remember when I started my company, I told my mother, I said, Mother, my goal, I want to take that company to where we're doing $50,000 a month. And my mother looked at me. This was 25 years ago. $50,000 a month was a lot of money back then. Still a lot of money. And my mother looked at me and she said, boy, she says, nowhere in the world are you going to do that. It's the only time in my life that my mother has ever told me I can't do anything. My mother's always normally extremely supportive of whatever her sons are trying to do. But she looked at me and she said, there's no way in the world you're going to be able to do that. But it was made up in my heart, in my mind. I had that rocky tenacity about it. I said, some kind of way, I am going to accomplish this goal. And I had that figure in the front of my mind like a carrot on a stick. And I was determined that I was not going to let it stop me. I've got a new goal now because I've gone multiples past the $50,000 a month long ago. My new goal now is $800,000 a month for my company. That's where I want to go. And that's really almost as far as I want to go. I'll explain that to you and give you the revelation on that in another session. But the point is right now, you need to have solid goals of where you want to go. Now, there is a system called the SMART system. This is standard business stuff. Nothing new about this. You can find this anywhere else. But you have to have it, and most people in business don't have it. And the SMART system is simply the acronym of the elements that you need to have in your goals. S stands for specific. You need to outline specifically what you're going to do. The number one resolution that people have is to lose weight. So if you're going to take losing weight as an example, I'm going to lose 25 pounds. You need to have specific goals, not I'm going to lose some weight. I don't even like goals, to be honest, even with people who are losing weight. I said, that's not really a good goal to have. And they said, why? I said, because the reality is people lose it and put it right back on. What you say is, I'm going to maintain my weight at a certain level. And that takes you for a lifetime. Your goal needs to always be something that you can not just think for the immediate, but your goals need to be long-reaching and something that evolves with you and something that will transcend and take you throughout your life. Your goals need to have that kind of thing where you don't say, I'm going to lose 25 pounds. I'm going to maintain my weight at 175 pounds or whatever your particular destination would be. So the first thing is the goal needs to be specific. Not I'm going to lose weight, but I'm going to maintain my weight at such and such a level. The M means the goal needs to be measurable. Because if it's not specifically measurable, you don't know whether you're achieving it or not. If you say, I'm just going to lose some weight, you could lose an ounce. And technically, you have gotten that goal. Matter of fact, you can go to have a good bathroom movement and you've gotten that goal. But that's not really going to get you in. So you need to have it where it is measurable. So whatever you're going to do, don't just say, I want to make more money. You could get a penny more and you have technically reached that goal. It needs to be measurable and it needs to be specific. So you can measure the progress and you know specifically what you want to do. And there is a whole different level of personality and spirit when people talk in specifics. Even as a salesperson, when you talk in specifics, the confidence in your customer skyrockets. If I'm looking at this podium and I'm trying to sell this podium and a customer asks me, well, what about this podium? Can you tell me a little bit about it? Yes, this is made of a polycarbonate. It's 3/4 of an inch thick. It will hold 250 pounds with no problem. It'll stand up to a pressure of 500 pounds per square inch. It's 42 inches high. It's 36 inches wide. It's a difference. Versus it's built well. So the more specific you become, the more your customer and the more the universe vibrates, the more your inner spirit vibrates. It needs to be specific. It needs to be measurable. The A is it needs to be attainable, not $5 trillion. You see, $5 trillion, it is specific, It is measurable, but it is not attainable. You need to make sure that whatever your goal is, it needs to be realistically attainable in your mind. Attainable. Aura, the traditional says that means it needs to be relevant, but that's not what I put in that spot. Because if it's not relevant, you don't need to be fooling with it anyway. The aura stands for you need a roadmap. You need a roadmap. It's one thing to say, I'm going to lose 25 pounds. I can measure my weight loss. I can do this, but you need a roadmap. I'm going to lose 25 pounds by getting up every morning at 5 a.m. I'm going to go out and I'm going to run 2 miles on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm going to do 50 push-ups on Tuesday and Thursday. That's a roadmap. You need a roadmap. It's one thing to say, I'm going to do $50,000 a month. How? That's your roadmap. If you don't have a roadmap, if you don't have a mechanism, if you don't have an idea of how you're going to get there, all of the other stuff doesn't matter. You have to have a roadmap. Aura is the roadmap. You need to detail exactly how you are going to do this, and it helps to keep you on track. How? The roadmap. T stands for you need to have a time frame. I'm going to lose 25 pounds. When? You see, if you don't put a time frame on it, there is a good probability you never get started on it. When do you think is the best time to get started on anything that you can do? Right now. The longer you delay, every day you put it off, the probability of you succeeding in these things drops drastically. Anytime it's something that you know you need to do, you know you can do, the sooner you start it, the greater the likelihood that you will complete it. The time frame is important. You need specific, you need measurable, you need attainable, you need a roadmap, and you need a time frame. And that's the way you handle your goals. And every one of you who are either in business or thinking about going in business, you need a goal. You need a generalized vision statement, but you need specific goals and a roadmap of how you're going to get those goals. The mission statement, often many companies, their mission statement and their vision statement looks just alike. I define mission statement a little bit different, and this is different. I tell you, my level of business fundamentally is the 10 million and under level. If you're looking at the 50 million, the 100 million, the $1 billion, you need to go to another seminar. But I can guarantee you that seminar is going to cost you a little more. I can guarantee you that. If you're looking for that level, that's not the level of where I'm talking. I'm talking of getting you to the $1 million point, the $5 million point, the $10 million point. The mission statement that I use, this is a mission statement that has, first of all, the mission statement, it's eternal. No matter what size my business grows to, this mission statement is based on principles. This is not the goals. The mission statement is sort of like the constitution for your business. It's the guidelines. It's the underlying principles that guide you into where you're going. I have 8 fundamental elements in my mission statement. It's on my website. My main company website is thewoman.com. If you go there and click About Us, you will see these 8 points of this mission statement. But these mission statements and these 8 points is something that I want you to consider, and perhaps even consider using the exact mission statement that I have. This is not goal. This is constitution. And there's a difference. Number 1, always remain financially viable. Oftentimes, if you have a business idea or a concept, first thing you have to know is, will the thing make money? You'll be surprised how many people come to me and they haven't even figured out, will it make money? They don't know how much it's going to cost to make it. They haven't even tried to find it out. They just got to, you'll be surprised. The first thing is it must be financially viable. If you're going to do something and sell something for $2 and it costs you $1.80 to make, it's not financially viable. You have to understand, is it financially viable? Now, when I say financially viable, there are some things that I have done that I knew right up front were not financially viable in terms of it wasn't going to make money, but I knew I could afford it. When I started to build Mountain Wings, at points I was literally spending $1,000 a day to build that. It made no money. I wasn't trying to make money from it. I was trying to change the world. But I understood that and I could afford to do it. It's financially viable if you can afford it, but you need to understand that. And if you're going to have if you're doing a project or something and it's not going to make money, that's not a business, that's a nonprofit. Do you understand the difference? There's nothing wrong, and I do a lot of nonprofit stuff. So there's nothing wrong with nonprofit. It's the way ministry often operates. It's the way you help the world. There's nothing wrong with it. But if it's a nonprofit, you need to know that going into it, and you need to be able to afford nonprofit. Is it financially viable? So if it's not financially viable, it's not a business. It's either a nonprofit or a hobby. There's nothing wrong with a hobby, but it's not a business. It needs to answer that first and fundamental question. I'll have people go, but Pastor Bronner, this is such a good idea, but it's not profitable. But this will help people, but it's not profitable. And if you don't have another revenue source where you can fund this as a hobby or a nonprofit, you will not stay in business. Bottom line, that's the first question. Well, you are a pastor. You are not to be talking about the first thing in business is the money. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Don't fool yourself. Even Jesus says, what man buildeth a house without first counting the cost? You don't try to build a business empire or any project and you have not first counted the cost. I'll go into that in detail when we get into the pricing model, and I'll give you some of the examples and experiences that I've had that will help you avoid some of the pitfalls that you can run into with this first one. Number 2, use no deception. Use no deception. This is my constitution. So many times in business, there is a temptation to just bend the truth just a little bit. Do you understand what I mean? There was a temptation that you could get more profit if you just twist this just a little bit. And we're in the nutraceutical business, the vitamin, the natural health. Oh, you'll be surprised how much lying goes on in that business. I mean, we've analyzed some other competitors' products because we were wondering how they put this stuff in here and get it to taste like this. We sent it off to the lab. It wasn't in there. That's how they did it. They lie. The second thing of my constitution or mission statement, use no deception. And I have these rules posted up in our main boardroom, so whenever we're having a meeting, and if anyone comes up with an idea, including me, some employee may write, Mr. Bronner, remember number 2, that's not quite totally true. And the Constitution pulls us back to where we're supposed to be. Use no deception. Your business is probably totally different from mine, but the principles are not. And you will always be faced with the thought that you can make a little more money if you just lie just a little bit. Use no deception. Number 3, all products and actions must be beneficial. And these are principles of character that will help you sleep at night. I have an underlying rule that I will not make any product that I would not give to my children. If I won't give it to my children, I won't give it to the public. Just as simple as that. We make one of our products, it's actually a product for men, and it actually boosts up, how would I put it? It boosts up male libido. And it's a product that we needed because in marriage counseling, one of the things we found, one of the big issues that people had was always sexual. It was just there. Never have we had a case of marriage counseling that sex wasn't a problem in. So we made the product to fill a need, but we have right on the bottle for married men. And I have issues with big chains, and they say, why you have this on your bottle? You will sell more if you take it off your bottle. Because I say it's for married men only. And I will not take it off of the bottle, because I wouldn't want my son using it if he wasn't married. If he's married, fine, but not if he's not. I won't give anything to the public, and I would not allow that to be taken off a mail drive. It's a principle that the Constitution would not let me violate. All products and actions must be beneficial. We shall strive to have excellent customer service. I don't care what business you're in, you have to serve the customers well, with a good attitude, and with a smile. Number 5, we shall strive to be the best. In products and services, no company shall offer a better product value. This one statement has kept the company growing in the midst of when all of the other market and all of our competitors were shrinking. We can't make a Me Too product. It has to be better. And that thing has saved us. It was something that God just breathed into me. And a lot of times there's a temptation. There's a lot of products in this category. Just copy that and make that. Everything we make is unique. There's nothing else like it on the market. If we can't make it better, we don't make it. And it has kept us because when the market went down, anything that fits into what's called the commodity category, it was price sensitive. They couldn't replace our products because there was nothing else like it. Mail drive, they can't replace it. Nothing else like it. Because of that, because of the uniqueness of it, it kept the company growing at a time when the economy itself was falling down. And some of you may say, well, how can I be different? How can I be better than I cut grass? How can I do that? Figure it out. You'll be surprised if you put ingenuity into it, how you can separate yourself. And sometimes it doesn't even cost money. Let me give you an idea. Just say you're in lawn service. Suppose you named your company Lawn Apple. And what you did, after you finished cutting every customer's grass, you brought them an apple in a baggie. And you said, I appreciate you as a customer, and I want you to stay happy and healthy. Here's an apple from Lawn Apple. Apple costs you a little bit of money, but he's got an apple, or she has an apple every time you do the lawn. And there's something different because nobody else gives them an apple. And when the competition comes, a year down the road, and they knock on that door and they say, look, we can do your lawn cheaper than who's already doing it. And the customer will think to themselves, yeah, they can do it cheaper. It's a commodity product. You don't really cut grass any better than anybody else. It's a commodity product for the most part. But they'll think, yeah, they're a little bit cheaper. But Lawn Apple gives me an apple. And they are concerned about my health. Because understand, now see, and this is a simple principle, but this is how you think, and this is how you get on top, and this is how you move yourself beyond the competition. Because it's not just the apple, it's the concern. That housewife whose grass you're cut, she may not have had any praise from her husband in years. But Lawn Apple appreciates her and gives her an apple and wants her to stay healthy. Or the husband. He's working himself to the bone and the wife hadn't said thank you in the last 10 years. But Lawn Apple appreciates him. Do you understand? With just an apple. And you have now separated yourself. Because understand, see, true sales, the vast majority of product and service purchases are not based logically. They're in the heart. So if you can do something to get the heart, you have the customer. Funds come from friends. If you make the customer feel like a friend, you've got a customer and it's not price sensitive. I do lawns. I don't have a way to differentiate myself. Yes, you do. And whatever you do, you find a way to differentiate you from the competition. What's called a USP, a unique selling point. So with us, with our products, we have to make it where we are unique. And the economic fluctuations, they not only don't affect us, we go up when the economy goes down. All because of point number 5. Point number 6 is we shall strive to have the best environment. And this is an inter-office environment that we really want to make it where when people come to work, a lot of people, when they come to work for me, they're glad to get to work because sometimes it's so much hell at home. But there's a peace at work. And you want to have your environment at the office to where people are comfortable and there's a spirit of peace. You want hard work, but yet you want a spirit that flows over your office or whatever you do or wherever you do it. You want a spirit of peace flowing over it so that you have the best environment. And number 7, we shall improve. Anything that remains stagnant eventually dies. You have to constantly improve. You have to constantly adapt, change, and modify. And number 8, as we are blessed, we shall bless others. The church didn't pay for the food that you ate this morning. My company did. As we are blessed, we shall bless others. These are the 8 principles of my mission statement, of what I call my constitution. You need to have an overall vision statement. I want to change the world. And I'm working on several projects right now. They're not even domestically based. I don't think U.S., I don't think black or white, I don't think rich or poor, I think people. And I'm going to tell you another level of where I think. I don't think my lifetime. I want to be, that's why I'm putting this information on electronic form. That's why all of our messages are on the web for people to freely download. I want to be doing this 100 years after I'm dead. And it all depends upon your vision of where do you want to be, where do you want to go. You know, Bill Gates was the richest man in the world. You know what his vision was when he started Microsoft? His vision was to have a computer on every desk and home. That was his vision. Have a computer on every desk and home. Has he done it? And it made him a little bit of money doing it. That was his global vision. Now, how he did it with his mission statement and his goals, but that was his global vision, to put a computer on every desktop, in every home, in every office. And not only is it a computer there, you got a computer on your desk, you got a pad on your desk, you got a smartphone on your desk, you got all this stuff on your desk. So his vision has manifested, but it also made him the wealthiest man on the face of the planet. But even the wealthiest man only had 50 billion, not 5 trillion. This is session 1. And I hope this has given you a structure to go back, put your goals in place, put your mission statement in place. Some of you really have not even thought about where you truly want to go. And you've not quantified it. I just want to do better. No. That won't work. My father was a fan of Reverend Ike, Frederick Eichenkoder. A lot of people thought he was a shyster, but no, Reverend Ike had some serious stuff. He always told the story of the lady who came up and said, Reverend Ike, I need a car. Reverend Ike said, what kind of car do you need? She said, any kind. He said, they don't make any kind. There's no kind of car made called any kind. You can get you a Buick, a Ford, a Mustang, a Cadillac. You got to be specific even of what you want. And some of you all are just saying, I just want any kind of business, any kind of increase. The more specific you are, the more likely that your vision and your goal and where you want to go will become a reality. Now, we're going to take questions now. That fundamentally ends the presentation part of session 1. My 2 young sons who are out of school, they have to leave now because they got to make their 3rd period class, but they're right here on the front. They paid their money to be here, and this was the way my father would have had me sitting here. I might have had my lip poked out for a while, just like I did with the paper route. But he knew what it took to instill. And this is going to be even part of teaching you about how to handle transition and the future, because with your business, you should not have as your goal for your business for the business to die with you. It should transcend on beyond you. Raise your hand if you have a question in the audience that you'd like to ask. Yes. How do you start? Basically, she's asking the question, if you have a lot of stuff in your head, how do you start? How do you get it out? Let me tell you, first of all, if you have a lot of stuff in your head, you need to, number one, decide what's the important stuff. Now, oftentimes, this is what I've experienced with people who have come to me. They got a half a dozen things they want to do. I said, look, number one, you have a limited amount of resource, and resources fundamentally time and money. I said, pick your best thing. Not 6. You're short of time and money, or money is probably usually number one. You're short of money and time. You can't do 6 things. Pick your best idea, the one that makes the most sense, and then focus on that idea. So if you have a lot of things in your head, first thing you got to do is you got to bring some focus to the lot of things, because you're not going to be able to do a whole lot of things. The worst thing to a great idea is another good idea. Because once you split it, now you've divided 50% of your time and 50% of your money split into 2 ways. And it oftentimes takes everything you got focused in one direction. So if you got a lot of things in your head, put down all of the things, and then you go down the list of things to find out what is the one that is most probable. I would advise you to get with a person who has success. This is another one of the rules. Don't get with anybody that's failing. Get with someone who has success. Show them your list and ask them, of these, which one would you choose? I remember once I gave a person this advice. They had a half a dozen different things. And I said, look, of those things, I said, there's one of them definitely don't do. Definitely don't do that one. But the other 5 at least have potential. But don't do that one. You know which one they did? And it flopped to high heaven. So you have to get with someone who has success, who can give you another side of wisdom to help you, first of all, filter through, narrow to the one best, and then begin to channel your resources and detailing your roadmap and the SMART plan on that one best. Another question. Yes, sir. The question that he asked, the example that I just gave of don't do that, when he asked, what is the reason that most people do the don't do that thing? Often the reason is that area is crowded. What that one thing was, it was a book of poetry. And I've written books. I've written about 6 books. I read, first of all, everything I could read about self-publishing and how to write books, how to market, My first book, I sold out of 4 printings of the book. My second book, I sold out of 7 printings, and I actually put it on the web free. I sold out of quick fasting the first 7 printings, and because it was really designed to help people, I put it on there free. I had sold thousands of copies, but now 10,000 people a month read quick fasting from quickfasting.com. I knew about book publishing, but the thing I knew was there is one type of book no publisher will touch. That all of the experts say, if you're going to write any kind of book, this is the one kind of book, do not write. Do not write a book of poetry. Because poetry is the most common type of book written, and no publisher will touch it because it will not sell. So I told her, I said, look, whatever you do, don't focus on this book of poetry because it will not sell. No publisher will touch it, and it's going to flop if you put your energy and your money into that. They did it because it's what they want to do. That's why if you have the ability to make the tough decisions, that's why that decide cut off. And sometimes you have to cut off some stuff you want to do. It's something she wanted. She had a passion for it, but sometimes people, our passion, there's no profit in it when it goes against logic. Now, it doesn't say that you can't make it, but I don't like to deal with things where the odds are just stacked against you, just heavy. And if it's something that all of the experts said, look, don't do this because, and I said, name me any successful poet that you know. She said, Maya Angelou. I said, now name the second one. Name the second one. Most common type of book written, and you can't name but one person who's made any money or any fame in this field. That's what I'm talking about. So oftentimes people will do this because it's what they want to do, and they don't have the discipline to do what they should do. Passion is one thing that you should have, but that's why I named all 5 of those things. Passion you should have. You should be passionate about. But people, sometimes we just can't do what we're passionate about because I see Elijah, my younger brother. He's passionate about playing basketball. He's a good basketball player. But people, he ain't no Michael Jordan. Do you understand the difference? Now, he's passionate. And if C. Elijah came to me and told me, Brother Nathaniel, I want to quit my job. I want to quit the church. I'm going to basketball camp, and I'm going to be an NBA All-Star. You know what I'm telling you? Don't do that. So that's why they do that, is because it's something that they want to do, but they do not have the discipline to do what they need to do. And if you're going to survive in business, you need the discipline to do what you need to do. Next question. The do's and don'ts to partnership. Number 1, partnership is a marriage. It's a very realistic marriage. It's relationship. A partner generally should complement you in some way, form, or fashion. Number 1, you have to be able to trust a partner. If you cannot trust them, do not partner with them. One of the best ways I could say it is this. If I would not want my child to marry them, I would not want to partner with them. And that sometimes is a real good magnifying discerner that will help you choose on partnerships. Oftentimes, see, when I went into my business, I went into business with my brother James. And James was in college at the time. But that's my partner. I respect his integrity. I respect his intellect, his character, his work ethic, all of that stuff. If I had a daughter, he would be the kind of man I'd want her to marry. Partnership. First of all, would you want your child to marry that person? And if you say, well, I wouldn't want her to marry him because, that same because is going to mess you up in partnership. It's a rule that we have just found. You say, I wouldn't want her to marry my daughter because he's not going to be faithful. If he won't be faithful to your daughter, he won't be faithful to you. And he'll mess up your money and he won't be honest with you. We found that out. Men who are not faithful to the wives, oftentimes are not honest in business. They'll cheat the partner. Character is not confined to one area. It's just not. So that's just a good rule. Now you need to have capability, but really you need to have character ahead of capability. And you need both of them. But that's the same thing with a partner in marriage. You want character, but you want some capability. So you need both of them. Yes, sir. What about if your partner is your wife? That's the way my family was. My father's partner, Bronner Brothers, was his brother, but my mother was the partner. But we did have rules. And one of the rules is only one wife could work in the business. And that made a whole lot of sense. So we're understanding. Bronner Brothers has a rule now. No wives can work in the business. None. So, no wives can work in the business. My wife cannot work in my business. It can be the best thing, but once you start getting two women in a business, oh my goodness, that's a navigation that you probably don't want to make. Number one, if your wife is in business with you, it's a partnership. And some of those become the strongest and best in the world. And it's actually probably better in many cases for the wife to be in business with you than not, because now you have commonality of ground. You have common stuff to talk about. If stuff is going wrong with the business, she probably made the decision to make it go wrong, or at least was a part of the decision. So now it's not a case of where the money is gone and you coming home trying to explain to your wife. She already knows. It actually can work extremely well. But again, the key to the partnership with husband and wife is the same key to partnership with anybody else. It has to do with the compatibility and the ability to work with the person. James and I have been in business now 25 years. We've never had an argument. We have never had an argument. The compatibility makes a huge difference. If you and your wife are getting along well, it will probably work well in the business. But if she's coming home and coming at you with a frying pan, you're going to have a problem in the business. It's the same. The partnership can work in a marriage, absolutely, in business. Next question. That's a little bit different. The mission statement and that constitutional 8-point, it's a little bit different from a business plan. That's closer to literally a constitution. Usually you won't find those 8 points in a business plan. If you're doing a business plan, you're doing a business plan generally for a financier. A financier, they're really not concerned about, the only thing they're concerned about is number one on that plan. They don't care about you helping anybody else. They don't care about your office environment. They don't care about anything. They don't care about you making beneficial. They'll fund a tobacco company if necessary. They don't care about that stuff. A financier is looking for a different set of criteria, and that's generally who you will do a business plan for. You do a business plan for financing. I would not recommend that you incorporate those things into a when I sat on the bank board, we didn't review that kind of stuff. All we were interested in was hard figures, how they're going to pay this money back, what their credit looks like. That's all. We were only interested in hard figures and facts. I would not recommend incorporating that into your business plan. I would recommend you incorporating that into your business. And that's different, because most folks don't follow the plan anyway. Once they get the loan, they don't even look at that plan anymore. And that's the truth. You had a question, yes.
What did you do to get your children out of school? I would love for my sons to attend, but that would be excessive targeting.
And that's a good question. To be honest about it, they were on the holiday vacation. The school just started on Monday. I had them, first of all, both write letters to all four of the teachers. Each one of them had 2 periods. I had them write letters to both of their teachers explaining why they were going to be here. I wrote them a long explanation, but I understood, you can miss a certain number. I had to make a decision that this was more important for their future. And the reason is schools are shutting down. Teachers are out of jobs. So I wanted my children to have education of how to make it and how to survive. if you will email us and contact us at 24hourMBA.com, I'll send you a copy of the letter that I actually wrote the teachers about this. I brought them and pulled them out of school, but I only allowed them to miss 2 periods. That's why they had to leave before the Q&A session. Next question. How does an area of focus give you the direction you need to reach your goal? That's a little bit more of a difficult question. I guess, first of all, it depends upon. Well, let me just pull an example. Somebody just shout out an area of focus. Just shout it out. Well, debt is not a goal. See, and see, that's why. Now, see, I'm glad you said that, because that is a good example of specificity. If you put debt down as your goal, where does that take you? It takes you in debt. You have to be specific about how you name, verbalize, and manifest your goal. Did you have a specific area of focus? Yes. Client retention. If your focus is client retention, first thing you have to understand, why are your clients leaving? That's one of the first rules, and this is some of the sessions that we'll get into. Why are your clients? If you got an issue with client retention, you always have to get to the root of the problem. And you have to really find out the real reason why clients are leaving. Because you cannot fix a problem if you don't understand the problem. You can only put a Band-Aid on the hurt. If your focus is client retention, I want to retain more clients. Number one, you have to set a goal. And you may set a goal to say, I want to retain 100% of all my clients. That's an unrealistic goal. No one can ever do that, even with the absolute best of customer service, with the absolute best of, for whatever reason. First of all, some of your clients going to die. What you going to do, go out to the grave and dig them up? Some will move away to another city. They will lose their job. They won't be able to afford your services. For whatever reason, there is always an irreducible minimum loss of clientele that is absolutely unavoidable. I would first find out what represents an excellent peer group for my particular industry. What industry are you in? Esthetician. You'd have to find out, for my industry, what is the normal excellent client retention rate? Is it 90%, 80%, 70%? When you find out what is excellent, then you have knowledge to set a target. You set your target first. I want to retain 90% of every client that I have and that I get. Number two, I need to find out, if I have excessive client loss, why do I have the loss? And once you find out the why, then you begin to work on the why. So focus always, number one, if there is a problem that you're trying to solve, you always have to find out what's the cause, what's the real root. My daddy had another saying. He would say, there are always 2 reasons with every situation. There's the good reason and there's the real reason. To fix any problem, you have to know the real reason. And sometimes clients may not give you the real reason, they'll give you the good reason. You've got to always know the real reason. Once you find out the real reason, and sometimes you may not be able to ask them because they won't tell you. You have to figure out a way with every client who's have someone, look, is there any, and you have to learn how to massage the truth out of people. And once you get the reason, you will generally find a common thread that runs through, and then you need to fix that thread. And once you fix that thread, then you're able to boost and maintain and improve client retention. Focus, depending upon what it is, that will determine the steps that you want to take. But the first thing is to clearly outline the goal of what you want to do. Next question. I'm talking a general how-to. With whatever you want to do in life, you need to have a detailed plan of how you're going to do it. That's what I mean by roadmap. Roadmap is simply the detailed plan of how you're going to do it. I don't believe one of the seminars is entitled road mapping, but road mapping actually for most people is a fairly simple thing. But oftentimes people haven't figured out how they're going to do it. They have the general goal, I want to be rich. How? If you ask most people, they'll have that, I want to be rich, but they have no roadmap of how they're going to get rich. And they may have no roadmap of what rich means. First of all, if you want to be something, first thing you have to do is define what that something is. You don't say, I want to be rich. You say, I want to make X amount of money per year. And that's a different than I want to be, because rich is relative. I was in the Amazon one, back in the jungle, and we were climbing through, everybody got all these huts and no doors on the huts. And they said, we're going to go visit the rich man this evening. We're going to see the rich man. We went to the rich man. He had a hut too, but he had a generator. So when everybody else was in the dark, he had light. That was their definition of the rich man. You have to define even what you mean by rich, because you do have lights, don't you? Most of you are richer than the rich man in the Amazon. You have to define. That's why the specificity is important to begin with. Define even where you want to go and what you mean by that. And it brings so many things into focus. So your roadmap makes a difference by what you mean by rich. Do you mean $100,000 a year, or do you mean $1 million a year? Those are different roadmaps. If I want $100,000 a year, I can go to school, I can get an MBA, I can earn that. If I want $1 million a year, I need a different roadmap. What you mean by rich, or the goal, defines the roadmap. Next question. She says she has land. She's not taking out any loans on it. You have it half developed. That is a specific project. And oftentimes with specific projects, it's not a principle that answers that. It's the analysis of the project. See, the first rule of real estate is location. Second rule of real estate is location. Third rule of real estate is location. So without knowing the location, you can't even properly advise on it, because those are some fundamental principles of real estate. Location, location, location are the first three rules of real estate. Your advice on the property is going to depend on what area it's in. That's what I'm saying. Some of the things are specific, project-oriented, and without knowing details, you can't give proper practical advice without the whole snapshot picture. We've got 1 minute to close. Again, I thank all of you so much. We're going to put the best that we have and bring the best that we have to you. Our next seminar is going to deal with the naming, the product, the service. It's going to deal with some practical stuff of how do you, for those of you who want to develop products, services, just some practical stuff that you need to do. You'd be surprised a lot of folk just do not do. This is from basic ground roots, grassroots, street level experience that will change your opinion and ways of doing something. So the next seminar is going to be extremely important, extremely valuable. Again, I thank all of you so much for coming. I just want to say a prayer over you as we close and leave. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for everyone who is present in this day. Father, I pray that as they come to increase knowledge, that you shall increase knowledge, but Father, you shall give them spiritual insight, that you shall open up avenues, and yea, even favor, that favor shall be opened up unto them, the doors shall be opened, but they shall have knowledge of how to properly walk through the doors as they open. As we go through this year, bless them, keep them, guide them, and prosper them. In thy Son, Jesus' name, we pray. Amen.
Thank you for listening to this hour of the 24-Hour MBA. Listen to all 24 sessions from the 24hourmba.com. May you go, grow, know, and flow. May you go further, grow more prosperous, know true wisdom, and flow in wisdom's application in your life and business. May you be richly blessed for the 24-Hour MBA.